The 2018 edition of the Masters has to go down as the most anticipated ever. Will Rory win all 4 majors? Can Justin win 2 in a row? There's Tiger. There's Phil. What about Bubba looking for 3 green jackets? Spieth has found his game. DJ's back. Rose has 2 runner-ups here in 3 years. Can Ricky or Rahm capture their first major? We'll try to answer those questions and more as we preview the season's first major with in-depth player analysis, course knowledge, the latest odds, trends, and picks. As Prime Sports Golf on the Prime Sports Radio Network starts now. All right, I'm Greg DePalma. You're listening to Prime Sports Golf for this Tuesday, the 3rd of April, 2018, with Jeff Shane, Brady Cannon, and Joel Cook on the Prime Sports Radio Network. Prime Sports Golf is brought to you by ProGolfWeekly.com and Covers.com. Covers has the best handicapping data on the web for all major sports, including the golf and the Masters. Make sure to visit Covers experts at experts.covers.com, and you can take 50% off any purchase by using the promo code PRIME50. That's PRIME50. Time to introduce my co-host to the show. He is a PGAtour.com contributor. You can find his first look reports every Friday prior to each event on the PGA Tour. Jeff Shane. And Jeff, we're finally here. We've been promoting it for weeks. We're still a couple of days away, but that's okay. The anticipation, as I mentioned, is huge. Will we be able, though, to will the payoff be there? That's the thing. We don't usually get the payoff when the anticipation is this high.
Well, and that's the worry. You ticked off all the storylines, and there's about 9 of them without even having to think hard this year. And I think while we have to think that there's going to be 2 or 3 guys that live up to the billing this week, I suppose there is kind of that fear deep down that it's going to be Tyrrell Hatton and Brian Harmon coming up 18 at Augusta National.
Yeah.
And nothing against either one of those guys,
but
there's so many big names. You got to think 2 or 3 of them are going to be there on Sunday.
All right. Don't forget, we're also going to be, as always, every week we go inside the course knowledge and find out about the golf course, whether or not the course favors a specific golfer. And just like any course, the Masters, Augusta National, they play here every year, even though it's the only major they do that. So that gives us a little bit of an advantage as far as the majors and handicapping them, or at least I would think it would. Brady, as I introduce Brady Cannon to the show, would I be correct regarding the majors?
Yeah, I think you're very much correct, Craig. It gives us the same set of circumstances to deal with over the past 30, 40, 50, 82 years, I guess. But certainly in the modern era, we've seen a lot of trends develop. If you look at the last 10, 20, even 30 wins, we've seen statistics develop that hold up year in and year out.
Mm-hmm.
One of which is, first-timers don't win. That hasn't happened in 39 years. But as far as what skill sets it takes to win at Augusta, what you'll find most common is greens in regulation and scrambling, putting, and then scoring on the par 5s, and then also avoiding disaster, or the way the tour looks at it statistically is bogey avoidance. So if you can put together those 5 things, and what a lot of that amounts to is good length off the tee. Augusta for many years was known as a bomber's course. That isn't completely true anymore, but still, you do need good length off the tee, and then you need the rare combination of also having incredible touch around the green. So look for players that can do that all very well, and you should have a decent Masters player for your futures bet.
Yeah, and by the way, you mentioned first players that have been at Augusta for the first time. We haven't seen somebody win like that since Fuzzy, and again, almost 40 years. Let's keep in mind that in the last 4 years, we've actually had 2 players win on their second try, and that's even a little bit. That's a stat that we would also be a little bit surprised to hear about. Again, knowing the pressure that comes with playing at Augusta and so forth, but Jordan Spieth did it and Danny Willett did it. So that at least is something where if you see a player that has been here once, it may give you a little bit more of a reason to not get so put off by that knowledge of that inexperience at this golf course, as opposed to somebody who's never been here before.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And Willett and Spieth are a couple of the outliers. About 85-90% of the last 20 winners had been here at least 5 or 6 times. And it goes to exactly what you're saying there, that you need experience to get around this golf course. You have to have logged a few hours to realize not only the nuances of the golf course and what it takes in these subtle undulations and areas around the greens, but also to be able to handle that pressure cooker. Guys that are here for just the first or second time, coming down the back nine on Sunday at Augusta, that is new territory, uncharted waters, if you will. So it takes a few times to be in that cauldron of pressure to get used to it and build up a little scar tissue. And that's why you see guys, take a few trips around this tournament before they do emerge victorious.
Now, I did want to ask you a couple of special major questions this week regarding some props or golf specials, and or you could throw in even the term futures, depending on which way you want to go. But fact is, I felt that this was a good way to start because this is the major season beginning, and I found a couple that I wanted to ask all three analysts about. So the first one is who will win a major? So I presented you with about, 8 players with odds: Tiger, Jason Day, Fowler, Matsuyama, Rahm, Rose, Fleetwood, Casey, and Reed. So their odds have ranged from 3-1 to 12-1 based on whether or not any of them would win a major. And I said, okay, you can go in there and you can place either one $200 wager. Let's say if you're in Vegas, you want to place it on the sports book, or 2 $100 wagers. So 1 $200, 2 $100s. Which would you do? Which player or players would you do with that list and those odds, and why?
I'm sorry, Greg. I didn't know if you were pointing that to Jeff or myself, but I'll go ahead and go. Looking at your first question there with who will win a major this year, I would probably just go to the bottom of the board and take Patrick Reed.
Really?
At the highest number you're showing there.
Wow.
I think there's probably some value on that. Now, you look at Justin Rose. I certainly like him to do well this week. I think Dustin Johnson will do well this week. But you're kind of picking, for instance, Justin Rose is at 5-1 on that list. I don't know if he's going to win this week or not, and so I'm not real thrilled with the number of 5-1. But again, if you give me 4 chances with Patrick Reed at 12-1, I think there's more value there. So
okay.
That's the one I like probably on the first set of circumstances. And then the second one, who will win 2 majors this year?
Yeah.
That one I probably would look to DJ because, like I say, I think he'll do really well this week, and you're giving me 10-1. If he wins this week, obviously half your bet's taken care of, and you're looking halfway good for the second part of that equation. And then you dip down further to the list of Justin Rose at 66-1 and Mickelson at 250-1. And this conversely, where I don't want to necessarily bet him to win one major, I would take a shot at those guys at those numbers to win 2 because I think both Rose and Mickelson have a great chance this week. So again, you've got half the battle taken care of if any of those guys can win this week.
All right, I'm going to get Jeff and Joel's answers a little bit later on. But Brady, now as usual, I do ask you for your head-to-head picks. So, and I have some head-to-head ones that I'm going to ask Jeff and Joel about a little bit later on. But as usual, pick out a head-to-head matchup that you like this week.
Yeah, I found something very odd in the head-to-head matchups this week, Greg, and that was involving Jon Rahm, Bubba Watson, and Ricky Fowler. And I'm not sure if this is true at every book, but I was at the South Point this morning and saw this, and I just felt it was really more of an inefficiency in the marketplace than anything, and that was Bubba Watson was favored over Jon Rahm minus 140, okay? And then Ricky Fowler was favored over Bubba Watson at minus 130. So then in the third combination there, Ricky Fowler over Jon Rahm, you would have thought would have been, a really strong favorite on Fowler if he was favored over Bubba, who was favored over Rahm. Then
Okay.
Ricky would be a real big favorite over Rahm. But it was only minus 120. And I said, well, geez, just by simple math, that looks like value right there. So that was one
Okay.
I pinpointed in Ricky Fowler minus 120 over John Rahm.
Where do you think, for these specific type of props, how do you think they come up with their formula?
The head-to-head matchups or the proposition?
Yeah, these head-to-head matchups, just like again, just sort of like what you were kind of you were a little bit unsure about why they came up with that number. How do you think they do come up with the numbers when they're deciding, especially when it's the same type of players, but it's just, one player here, one player there? The odds are a little bit higher or lower. I mean, is there what goes in? What do you think can possibly go into it, considering this is just a different type of sport? I mean, I can understand other sports and things of that nature, but I don't know. It's kind of strange how they would come up with the numbers, but they've got to have a reason.
Well, a few different things, and I know a couple of guys in town that make the odds for their respective sports books are super sharp on golf. So they're good at it. They know these players as well as anybody. The other thing is they're managing a book, so there's that science as well. They know who the public is likely to bet. They know that the public is probably likely to bet a favorite. So, there's a lot of that influence in the line that they make as well.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, they just go down the futures board. Okay, for the Masters, let's say at the top of the board you have Dustin Johnson, and then you have Rory McIlroy, and then Jordan Spieth and Justin Rose, and all the way on down to Brian Harman, as Jeff mentioned earlier. So they basically just take the players that are right next to each other there on the odds board, and that becomes your matchup. And then you might, make a few different combinations of guys that are within the same area code, if you will, as far as what the odds are. They're not going to necessarily do Dustin Johnson at 10-1 and put him in a matchup against Brian Harman, who might be 75-1. You probably are not going to see that matchup because there's obviously a clear big favorite there. But anyway, that's the first part where they start, and then once you get down into Rory McIlroy against Jordan Spieth, I wouldn't know exactly what the odds makers formula is. I know what our formula is. We look at who the horse for the course is, and if we think the number looks attractive or there's value on one side or the other, we go for it.
Well, I think you hit it when you mentioned how the public will bet. And I got to think that definitely, especially when you're talking about mixing and matching those three specific golfers that you touched up on, if they look a little bit different for some reason and you're wondering why, then maybe that's the first and easiest example. And reason is maybe how the public is going to bet with those two players.
Or how much action they already have on a particular side. And maybe it's already been, I'm looking at it here, and maybe it's already been adjusted per what kind of volume they took in either way.
Yep. All right. Before I let you go, give me some picks you like. Give me a contender you like this week.
Well, we talked about it last week on the show. You asked both Jeff and I if we had to make three guys the favorite in this tournament. I'm going to go with the three guys that I think are my favorite three guys to win this week, and that is Justin Thomas, Justin Rose, and Phil Mickelson. They're not at the very top of the odds board. Thomas is certainly a favorite in many stores, and not that these guys are long shots either. But I think all three of them have a fantastic chance this week.
All right. And do you like any one particular long shot?
Probably my favorite longer shot, if you will, and you can find him in the neighborhood of 40-1, is Matt Kuchar. I think Kuchar's going to have another great week here. He's only missed one cut in his career at Augusta. He's got 4 top 10 finishes in the last 6 trips to Augusta National, and that includes a 4th place finish last year. I also think a lot of what went into that final round battle with Justin Spieth on the 9 holes coming home at the British Open last summer, I think that added to Kuchar's career and what he has built in his career and the battles that he's had. I think that was another piece to the puzzle that is going to allow him to crack the code this week, possibly. That battle that he had down the stretch in a losing effort against Jordan Spieth. I think that could go a long way, too, in helping one prepare to knock the door down and winning its first major.
All right, sounds good. And you're going to be watching the Masters. How's your Masters experience going to be this week?
Well, I can give a little plug for the Westgate Superbook out here in Las Vegas. They have a remarkable sports book there with a massive TV screen, and they will have all the different feeds going of Amen Corner and the featured groups, and that's a great place to watch any sporting event. And Jeff Sherman, as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, one of the very, very sharp golf odds makers here in town. He loves the Masters, so I know he'll have a first-class presentation there at the Westgate Superbook, and I think I'll probably have to take in one of the 4 days there.
At least one, right? And then who knows about Sunday? Sunday would probably be you would think Sunday be a madhouse. And you know what's interesting always about the Masters is, which has always been a stat that surprises me every time I hear about it again every year, which is how unusual it is that for anybody to win unless you're in the last couple of groups. It's just incredible.
Yeah, that's something we did not touch on, but it's not a catch-up golf course.
No.
You really have to get out to the... Yeah, you would. But you really have to get out to the lead or be not far off the lead in a hurry. You're not going to go out and shoot 78 the first day and make an incredible turnaround. So that's just another one of those trends that we've seen come true at Augusta the last 20-some years or so.
Brady, enjoy the Masters, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.
Absolutely, gentlemen. You guys enjoy as well, and thanks again for having me.
You got it. That's Brady Cannon, covers.com and experts.covers.com to be precise. Again, go to that website, that URL I just mentioned, and you can take 50% off any purchase by using the promo code PRIME50. That's PRIME50. So what about you, Jeff? Give me a major. You've got the same questions for you. So Brady's going to go with Patrick Reed at 12-1, which kind of surprises me. I'm not sure if Patrick Reed's ready to win a major, but he's going to go with Patrick Reed at 12-1 in that first category. So what about you in that first category? Give me a player or two players that you would go with to win a major this year.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was surprised that he went with Patrick Reed as well, but maybe, because the 12-1 looked good to him, I guess I can understand that.
Sure.
I'll give you two names. I think Justin Rose is definitely in the conversation here, and so I would put him at number one on that list. And I think Jason Day is playing well again. He may or may not win this week, but I think he's also well primed to play well, perhaps at the PGA, at Bellerive, something like that. So Jason Day would be my 1A. So I'll split that 200.
All right. So Day 4-1, Rose 5-1. And then what about who would win if somebody could win two majors? And I got to believe that Justin Thomas is 40-1 just because of the fact that would mean that he would have to win potentially three majors out of five, which really does jack up the odds a bit.
Yeah, that really does. And not to say that he couldn't. As I've said on numerous shows here in the last 6 weeks or so, it's getting to the point where he can contend anywhere on any kind of course. And he's got major medal now. And I think that's a big deal. Can he make that kind of jump? At some point, yes. This year, if I'm only picking one name, I'm picking Rory McIlroy. He's shown he can do it and has done it before. And it looked like in his taking the match play out in his last stroke play outing, I think that he showed that he's getting a lot closer to where he could be very, very dangerous in every major.
Rory 11-1 to win two majors. So that's Jeff's going to go at Rory there, Day and Rose with the other category. Now, before we introduce our next analyst, make sure to follow us on Twitter at PrimeSN. You can receive our latest opinions, on-demand programming alerts, including when this show and every one of our shows are available on demand. So joining us from ProGolfWeekly.com, that's a weekly digital magazine that covers pro golf around the world, is ProGolfWeekly.com lead writer Joel Cook. So Joel, I'm gonna hey, happy Masters Week to you.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm excited.
Yes, we all are. All right. So, Joel, I'm going to ask you the same questions. So, who will win a major this year out of the list I gave you? Will you take one player for 200 or two players $100 each? Which way are you going to go?
I got to go to two 100 each. I'm not necessarily advocating for him for this week, but Jon Rahm, I just can't see him not getting it together. He's too talented and is too good on too many different kinds of courses. At 4-1, I don't think I would pick him as a big bet for this week in particular, but he's going to get together soon. I would feel comfortable with him at those odds.
Okay.
And also, I think Tommy Fleetwood, I really like at 7-1. It's a little bit higher odds than Rahm and some of the others there, but I feel like he carries himself like a major champion. He's getting in the contention a lot more. He's had 2 wins last year's Masters, finished ahead in the race to Dubai standings. He looks like someone who's going to be in a major championship pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't have to worry about the major being close to his home, he'll be okay.
Yeah, he seems to have some troubles on day one, but they eventually seem to get past that. He's someone I definitely like a lot coming up in Rome.
All right. And who will win 2 majors? One $100 wager. Who's going to win 2 majors if somebody does on the list and the odds I gave you?
I think it's going to be Spieth between those. He's another one. He had that third place finish last week. He's come back around. That putting's getting there, and he's putting up some good results lately, even without spectacular putting. I think if someone's going to do it twice, he's someone that's shown that he can keep that level of play at different places. I'm not sure about the PGA. That's the one he always made it sound like he's been tough with. So if he doesn't win this week, then you're kind of asking him to win the middle too. But
okay.
I don't know. He might be being modest about the PGA. He'll definitely be motivated to take that obviously winning the career Grand Slam. That's who I like back there.
All right, Spieth at 11-1, just like Rory McIlroy. By the way, I'm also going to ask you guys to give to give us your order of your top 5 picks. But of course, I'll ask you to do that after we give our picks. And then because obviously, like every week, we're going to one of us will take another one of our picks. So that'll complete. Sometimes we have strategies of when we want to take picks. But once we get through our picks, then I'll ask you for your top 5 for this week. Whether you want to put in long shots or not, but we'll get into that just a little bit. What about trends? And I'm also, by the way, we're also going to go over some really good 3-ball matchups that I found, not just 2 players, but 3 players. And I believe these are players that I don't know if all of them are from the from the Tee Times, but I know one of them is, so but you guys will know as I go over them, but we'll go over that a little bit later on. Before we get to that, I'm going to ask you if there's a trend that like a specific trend that you like or that you just think is kind of interesting. I mean, I found so many trends that some of them I've done research on, and some of them I've actually decided to figure out myself. I mean, you've got certain trends like the average and median age of a major champ is 32. Players 35 and younger have won 3/4 of all majors since 1960. The last 3 Masters champs have won a major for the first time. So there's some of that. I've got one that I've done my own research on, but give me a trend or something like that first, Jeff, that you know about this week that you're going to use yourself for making your picks, or something that you just found interesting.
Well, I think that in the last 7 or 8 years, remember when they went through the big expansion area at Augusta National, and nobody quite had a handle on the setup because it was almost too much too soon. And it took a few years of fine tuning. And those are the years that we got Zach Johnson in awful weather, who won the Masters by not going for a single par 5 and 2 all week. And then Trevor Immelman came up the following year. And that was a year that everybody was still kind of adjusting, especially in the Billy Payne era. They kind of figured out they need roars on Saturday and in particular on Sunday, and they've been able to fine tune that setup again. So I don't see the Zach Johnson, Trevor Immelman below medium length hitters. I'll say anybody in the bottom 2/3 of driving distance really does not have a lot of chance at Augusta National, because not only is it strict distance, but it's such an up and down golf course that you've got to be able to hit the crest of a hill, or you've got to get it over the crest of a hill, and then you get the big bonus because you get an additional 30 yards of roll to put yourself in position. So even though in the end it's still a second shot golf course because you got to get it to the right part of the green, you've got to set up that second shot with a strong drive. So in recent years, I've taken the shorter hitters more or less out.
All right. That's one for Jeff. You have something, Joel?
Oh, not as much of the way he Jeff describes it. There's, obviously we've seen more of that in recent years. Kind of makes me wonder about a guy like Alex Noren, who's just been playing so solidly lately. But I don't know if this is the kind of course where he, his margin of error is going to be so small. But we've seen the last three winners have all gone their first green jackets. These guys are figuring out the course a little sooner than they have in recent years. It's Steve. His first time he was in second place, and he won Willett in his second try. Third year would have like a million tries, but he's kind of reborn here too. And it's really, I kind of agree with Jeff. It's just really hard to look at very many of these short hitters and think, they really have to do so much more than everyone else to get past here. But there are still some decent names in there, and
okay.
I don't know.
A few of them that I found out myself. Let's see. I've noticed that the last two winners. How about this? I found out the last two winners lost in group match play 2 weeks. Before, of course, this was when it's only been they've only changed it to the end of March, the match play event. So this has only been the last couple of years, so that you can use this. So, but keep in mind that the last couple of winners did lose in group match play, so they had no momentum there, and they didn't play Houston. So keep that in mind, that the last couple of winners did not carry any momentum in from the last couple of weeks into Augusta. And I also found out that since Angel Cabrera won in 2009, the last 8 winners have at least placed third or better in their previous 8 events leading up to the Masters win. You could actually look back with the last 5 winners, that's since Adam Scott won, all won at least 6 events prior to their Masters win. And if you want to start with Bubba in 2014, the last 4 winners all won the same year prior to winning the Masters. And I think that's interesting because isn't that kind of what Phil was talking about, Jeff, a few weeks ago before he won, about how important it was for him to and get the feeling of winning again before he played and thought that he could actually have a shot at the Masters this year.
I think that's absolutely important because there's enough pressure with winning a major, but if you haven't won yet that year, or in some cases, if you haven't won yet in your career, or it's been a long time, it definitely adds to it. And that's kind of a debate that I've had with some others, in other venues here. If Tiger Woods gets into the mix on Sunday, we can't expect that he's going to be Tiger Woods circa 2001. It's been a decade since he's won a major championship. And I think even with Tiger Woods, there is a certain mental and psychological aspect that if you've won in the last, couple months, you don't have to deal with nearly as much as you do if you get in the mix on Masters Sunday and it's been a while, especially if it's been a long while.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think we do know because they've talked about it recently, which is the last 2 winners, Garcia and Willett, both won. What was that event over in the Dubai Desert Classic, right? That's what it was. Yeah. They both won the Dubai Desert Classic, so that means Hao Tung Lee would be the player this year that could make it 3 for 3. If you want to go with something crazy like that. That's a crazy
301 odds. That's not bad at all.
Maybe not that. And for Sergio, the last repeat champ, was a Tiger when he won in 2001 and 2002. So that's a few other trends to keep close to you as you're deciding what to do. As far as the event itself, only one winner in the last 5 have scored in double digits under par. That was when Jordan Spieth went nuts in 2015 at 18 under par. So does that surprise you at all, Joel, that the Masters is? Did you when you think of the Masters, and we all know that the majors are going to be tough golf courses, but when you think of the Masters and you compare it to, say, I don't know, the Open Championship or the U.S. Open, do you think of a very tough golf course, something that you're not going to be able to shoot, double digit under par?
I mean, not compared to something like the U.S. Open. I mean, we've seen a few scores. I mean, we had, let's say 4 years in a row there, from Angel Cabrera to Bubba Watson the first time, where they all reached 10 under. I mean, it's definitely a tough course. We've had some years where it's been a lot lower, too, depending on the weather and all that. But, it just doesn't have – it has just that mystical quality that the other courses don't have. But it's not one that's not really shocked to see the scores in the low teens. We've been seeing a lot more of that recently.
And in the last 13 Masters, only 5 winners have won by 1 stroke, and all 5 of those won in a playoff. How weird is that? So in the last 13 years, if you're going to beat somebody at the Masters by 1 stroke, you're doing it in a playoff. So that means we've seen quite a bit of players that have won the Masters over the last 13 years. I'm not going to say winning anywhere in a majors, you're going to do it comfortably, but if you've got a 2-stroke lead heading into the 18th green in a major, that helps, doesn't it, Jeff? It's a big load off your mind.
It does, and I think that there have been some cases too where the margin going to 18 has been 1 shot, and the guy that's trailing understands that I'm going to have to take a risk to try to get this thing into a playoff, and maybe they don't pull off the shot that they want to pull off, and so that the resulting bogey turns a 1-shot gap into a 2-shot gap at the end. So I think there's a little bit of that in there as well.
All right, let's go ahead and get to our picks, and then we've got a whole bunch of other stuff to get to. So Jeff's got the first pick this week. I go second, and Joel goes third. So and with the long shot winning last week, Ian Poulter, we'll talk more about that later. I don't think I have to worry about you guys. Well, then again, I mean, it is the first pick, and that's all the rule is for. So I don't have to worry about you guys picking Ian Poulter first. So that's nothing to worry about. So Jeff, you've got the first pick, and you've had a couple of weeks to think about it. So who are you going to make your first pick of the Masters?
Well, I'm sticking with what I said last week when you asked me to put 3 guys at the top of my list. I have not changed. There really has not been any indication in form from Houston that I need to change. In fact, that my guy didn't play Houston, but he's played very well at a lot of courses, and he seems to be a guy that is on the big stage all the time now. He's got a chance actually to win back-to-back majors. Justin Thomas is going to be my number 1 pick.
Well, actually, the question was, who do you think there should be the top 3? If you were conducting the odds, who would you put it in? Not necessarily who your top 3 picks would be. So I probably should have thought more about that. I should have kept a note so I knew who your picks were going to be if I would have known that. But all right, so Justin Thomas, I'm kind of surprised you go with Justin Thomas there. A little bit. I mean, I actually, you know what? I thought you were going to go with Rory. That's what I thought you were going to go with. Joel, are you surprised he's going with Justin?
I would have taken Justin. Yeah, he's number 1 on my top 15 rankings.
It is. He is.
Weekly. Yeah, he's just been every event lately. He's got a win, a runner-up, and a 4th in his last 3. I mean, you would have liked to see him finish the match play better, but as you mentioned, that doesn't tend to have much factor into the Masters anyway. But he's just been so on lately. That's definitely why I would have picked five first.
Yeah, look, I mean, I would have taken Justin over Rory myself, but. And yeah, I mean, I even the fact that if we have to remember what we talked about last week about the match play situation is that he supposedly was kind of distracted about being number 1, and maybe that was the reason he didn't go out there and win and another feather on his cap because the kid is just playing amazing golf. And by the way, I don't know if you caught it in the interview, but he was asked about Tiger and about how he would feel going up against Tiger. Would he be able to compete with Tiger back in Tiger's day? And I think Justin was being a little bit too polite by saying no. I mean, we've talked about this before. Now, the question could be posed, as always, a little bit specifically. Like, if Tiger's completely on top of his game and is playing his best that week, can you beat Tiger? That's different than as opposed to, well, for that 2 or 3 year period when Tiger was dominating, can you compete with him? Which the question wasn't posed that way, Jeff. So I can give him a break for that because but I think that's what he thought, though. I really do, and I think he was being a little bit too modest. Because these kids today definitely would have been able to compete with Tiger back then. Not of course, beat him all the time, but, they would have taken some wins away from him.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's how much the bar has been raised in the past 15 years. But I'll also say this. Justin Thomas is smart, and he's a friend of Tiger. So, you don't need to rub anything, not raw, but you don't need to rub anything right now in that friendship. And B, just in case I'm paired with Tiger on Sunday, I don't need this hanging over my head.
I like that. All right. So my first pick, I'm going to go ahead. Probably no surprise. I've taken him quite a bit lately. And both Jeff and I like him an awful lot here over the last few years. That's Justin Rose. How can you not like him here at this golf course? He's runner-up here 2 of the last 3 years, as I said at the Open. Lost in the playoff to Sergio last year. Probably nobody has played better than Justin here without a green jacket. So Rose will be my first pick at 14-1. So Joel, who are you going to go with? And this is, what's so really good about this particular Masters, Joel, is that I think that we can go through 6 or 7 picks and still have about 4 or 5 good ones to choose from. So, we're all going to have good picks here.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. And if 9 players, 18 or better, who all look great, and that's not even factoring guys like Ricky Fowler and John Rahm and Sergio and Hideki. This is a very, very great group this week. Really torn between 2 guys with this pick here. But I'm going to go strictly by... It is so tough here between Phil Mickelson and Rory McIlroy. But I would feel a little more comfortable if he had more than just one really, really good start lately. But in his last 4, Rory's gone T8, 4, T10, T7. He's obviously extremely motivated here right now. I'll give him a pass for the WGC match play because there's a lot of good reason for that. At 10-1, probably no one in the field's going to want more than him. I'll give him by just a nose over Mickelson.
You'll do what?
I'll take Rory by just a nose over Mickelson.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, as far as Rory is concerned, I mean, he's just another one of these players in this group, Jeff, that, sure, Rory, great pick. I mean, coming off a win, he's got the game. He sort of played in that win the way we actually maybe thought he was going to play as soon as he came over from Europe. So, all right, took him a while, but now he's peaked right before the big event. And that's what makes him really scary, especially when you take a look at the fact that Rory has played really well on this golf course. I mean, you can talk about his disappointments. You could talk about the one he let get away from him. But the fact is, he's got 4 straight top 10s here. That's pretty impressive. And he's got all those majors. So the only thing is the pressure, and has he tried too hard to try to get that final major out of the final major hardware?
Yeah, but I think that he's also at a point in his career now where he knows a little bit more about how to handle that type of pressure, and he certainly knows how to perform in big events. Little stat here that since Tiger won his last major 38 majors ago, the guy with the most majors in that span, has been Rory McIlroy with 4, and he's been able to win a couple of them back to back. So he's got confidence, and I think he built a little on whatever confidence may have been lacking when he won at Bay Hill. As I said, for me, it was very close between Thomas and McIlroy. I chose Thomas, but McIlroy would have been a happy consolation prize.
Yeah, McIlroy is going. I mean, he was. I think he was the favorite prior to just a short while ago. One of the books that we were using the odds on, Jordan Spieth has become the favorite now at 9-1 at this one book. Now, again, with all these great players, you could probably go to 10 books and get 7 different favorites. But at our particular books, Jordan Spieth is the favorite at 9-1, followed by Rory at 10-1, Justin Thomas and DJ at 11-1. All right, Jeff. So our first picks are in the books: Justin Thomas, Justin Rose, and Rory McIlroy. So picks number 2. Who are you going to go with here? And a lot of good players to choose from.
Yeah, a lot of good players, and I'm leaving some guys with better odds, or I should say lower odds, on the chart here. But I continue to be impressed with what Bubba Watson has done in the last 2 months, and now he's coming to a place where he's got all the confidence in the world. It's a place where he can shape shots like he wants to. And I think that everything seems to be falling into place for him at the right time. He is the hottest golfer on the planet right now, with 2 wins in his last 3 starts, or 2 wins in his last 4 starts. I'm sorry. I'm going to put Bubba Watson in this slot.
Yeah, Bubba's got the 2 green jackets, and he hasn't played this well in a long time. One of the things I did notice is I don't know, I was thinking about, okay, well, he has struggled here the last 3 years. So I was like, okay, well, let me try to figure out why Bubba might have struggled here. Maybe it's just because he hasn't played very well the last 3 years. But if you do take a look at Bubba prior to in each circumstance, he's actually not been that far off his game. And yet he still has struggled a little bit here lately. I mean, since his win in 2014, 7 of his 10 rounds have been 73 or worse. He had a 78 in the second round last year. But when you got a player that loves the golf course, has 2 green jackets, was not the pick in either one of those 2 either, no matter how well he was playing going in. Fact is that's why we pick these players, not necessarily because of their form, but just also just how great that they are for that particular golf course. And we always talked about Bubba over the years that he is going to feel, when he feels really comfortable at a golf course and he's happy at a golf course and he just loves playing there, he's that much better of a player. And I guess if you're thinking about taking Bubba to win a 3rd green jacket ever, and for the rest of the time of his career, maybe this is the time to do it.
All the stars seem to be lining up. This is a great time to be picking Bubba Watson, I think.
Yeah, it's just another player that can get lost in the shadows, believe it or not, of some of these other great players that we're talking about, which just shows you how much great talent there is. Would you have taken Bubba Watson, Joel?
I don't know quite at this point, but he is definitely so. I mean, I wasn't happy getting him as a 3rd pick in this round too. I mean, 16-1 odds. He's really confident right now. After that win with the Genesis of the Valspar, whichever one, the one at Riviera, he won that where it's all like, yeah, it's good to see him come back, but maybe this is just a course he's exceptionally comfortable at. But then he's obliterated everyone's match play, and he clearly looks back. And 16-1 odds for how well he's been playing lately. He would have been very much under consideration if he's available in 2 more picks.
All right. Well, next pick, I'm going to go ahead and screw my buddy Joel here by taking Phil at 18-1. Why not? He won for me a few weeks ago. I've mentioned before that I really like his chances. Same thing with Bubba. I like his chances, Jeff, where if Phil's going to win a last green jacket, that this would be a great year to think that he can do it, because I don't think I've seen him putt so well ever. I mean, his putting is so on right now, and he's not so wayward off the tee as he had been the last few years. He's good enough off the tee. He's been incredible putting, and now he goes to a venue which is the best venue of I gotta believe it's his venue. This is the place that his game takes to more than any other.
Yeah, and not only that, but driving down Magnolia Lane is a fountain of youth for Phil, as it has been for Fred Couples. And Phil's one of those guys that I never count out at Augusta, because even as badly as he's playing, there's something in the water. I don't know, but it is very, very rare when Phil Mickelson plays poorly at Augusta.
All right, Joel. So with Phil off the board, you've got your second pick, but again, there's a ton of great players here to choose from still. You've got Tiger Woods. Nobody's mentioned him yet. You got Dustin Johnson and Jordan Spieth. You got Rahm. You got Jason Day. You got Ricky Fowler. You got Paul Casey. You got defending champ Sergio. We can go to Fleetwood and even more. So you got a lot of really good talented players to choose from.
There's so many good options on there. I didn't think I was going to be the one to be making this pick, but I'm going to go with Tiger. I know he hasn't won in a while, and he's been stuck at 14 major championships for like a decade now. But Brady, I heard talking about bogey avoidance, and that seems to be something he's been amazingly impressive with since he's come back. His short game certainly looks like he can win a major right now. I mean, obviously worried about his driving, but even if that's just kind of passable, he seems confident again. I don't think he's going to put up a lot of really bad holes at 14-1. Yeah, why not? I'll take the gamble on him.
All right, Tiger Woods, 14-1, and it has been. I mean, Tiger's only played here like once in his last 4 years, right?
That's correct. Yeah. He played in 2015, but has missed each of the last two with the back issues. I think it was a knee he missed in 2014, and his last win of any kind was back in 2013 when he last had a good run on the fairways.
Yeah, and he hasn't won here in 13 years, right?
Can you believe that? 13 years.
That's crazy.
Still got 4 of them though. That's pretty good.
That's very important. Yes. So Tiger is your second choice at 14-1. Before we get to our long shots, Jeff, you gonna stick with a normal pick? Or no? I don't see any reason for any of us to be taking any long shots this week until our long shot categories are up. So who are you gonna go with? You still have a lot of great players to choose from.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are 2 or 3 guys that I would be completely satisfied with taking. For a second there, I thought maybe I'd be making the pivotal Tiger Woods pick today. But Joel took that from me. And I can't leave. I know he looked awful in Austin, but I can't leave the world number 1 on the board. With the way his game is, and he can snap it into place really quickly. So Dustin Johnson is going to be an interesting third pick, but I got to take him.
No, I mean, look, tell you the truth, I was surprised that you didn't go with Paul Casey.
I thought about that,
but I will say that Dustin Johnson would have been my pick, and I agree with you. I don't care because I just went over that trend that I found myself. I don't care what happened at the match play. It hasn't mattered the last 2 years to the champion. And before match play, Dustin was going off. He was the favorite to win match play. So I don't care either about what happened in match play when you're thinking about Dustin Johnson this week. He was my top pick to win last year. And I thought very hard about. I mean, I probably would have taken him as my top pick if you would have gone with say Justin Rose as your first pick. Just strategy wise, I would have done that instead of taking moving Mickelson up. But yeah, so I'm all in with Dustin Johnson as well. He's played really well here his last 2 appearances, and he's got the game for this golf course, the power game. He's been a lot better also over the last few years as far as his touch around the greens. he's going to win a green jacket, maybe a couple of green jackets, and maybe this is the year to do it, especially since, I don't know, he actually seems to be one of those players that nobody's talking about, if you can believe that, Joel.
Yeah, it's been kind of surprising. He was the favorite coming into last year before the injury. Even missing last year, I think he finished 4th the year before, 6th the year before that. I mean, he's had some good results here. He finally got that one major off his back, but he's someone that's so talented, and now we're starting to wonder, is this guy going to win a second one at some point? I'd be surprised at all if it's this week. I mean, he did look awful to match play. Pretty much everyone other than Bubba Watson looked horrible at some point that week. So I'm not too worried about that either. He probably just, as part of the match play, you lose your first day, and then all of a sudden you're kind of sunk. I probably just sort of mailed in a little bit after that first round loss. But I'd be comfortable with Dustin this week too. He's definitely in form for it.
All right. So with you taking Dustin Johnson away from me, Jeff, I'll tell you what, this pick for me then is between Casey and a player that I am going to take. Might be a little bit of a surprise because he's another player that's getting absolutely no recognition this week, sort of like Dustin Johnson, but with double the odds. And I'm going to go ahead and take Jon Rahm at 22-1. Rahm, and I did some research on Rahm before I made this pick because we know he's not exactly on top of his game, even more so than Dustin. It's the last 3 or 4 events haven't been all that great. But if you look at Jon Rahm's history, in 3 of his professional 4 wins, Rahm has not entered that event trending in the right direction. So most players actually trend well going into an event that they win. Rahm hasn't. Rahm will actually kind of play like he has the last 3 or 4 events where, all right, maybe he missed a cut, maybe he was 30th, maybe he was 18th, and then boom, win. And he's done that 3 times. The only time he didn't do it was after he won an event this past year, made a second, and then won again. So he's only actually in form won once. And I figured, okay, here's a guy that I don't have to worry about the form. We know how talented he is. Maybe he could be another one of these players that wins on his second try. And I've also, again, just taking a look at the fact that he's 22-1. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, the guy was like 14-1. So nobody seems to be recognizing Jon Rahm this week. Are you kind of surprised about that, Jeff?
Little surprised. Just he's the odd man out right now, or one of a couple of odd men out, with so many other players playing well. I think if he had won one of the Florida tournaments or maybe at Riviera and had carried a little bit more momentum in, but his victory came in the middle of January. So now we're talking 11 or 12 weeks since that happened. A lot's gone on in those 11 or 12 weeks.
Yep.
It's what have you done for me lately?
Sure. Yeah. And I also think, Joel, that some people believe that maybe he's not tempered enough to win at Augusta yet, that he'll at some point do something and it'll bother him and that'll take him out of his game for a day or a round, and that'll be enough to knock him out of contention.
I mean, I know it could, but I kind of like the way he describes his emotion. I mean, he makes it sound like it really doesn't seem to make him lose his game. I just think he reins it in right. He's had some trouble closing in recent weeks, so it does worried about him. But I mean, he's just so talented. We were talking earlier about who we'd pick to win one this year. I didn't know if it'll be this week, but I'm about as comfortable as anyone saying I think he's going to win one this year, if not more than one.
Well, Rahm and because that like you said, that is one of your picks from earlier at 4-1 to win a major. And look, the thing with, would I be right to say that we're talking about all these young kids, they're in their 20s, the ones that have won majors for the first time? Would Ricky and Rahm be the 2 youngest, most talented players that haven't won a major yet?
I would say that that's the case. And of course, Rahm is still about 5 years younger than Ricky, so that's even
Sure.
kind of generational in a sense.
Yep. Okay. Who would be the third?
Matsuyama, probably.
That's a good one.
Okay. All right, let's go to Joel. Joel, your last pick before your long shots. So Spieth is still the favorite of the tournament, is still available for us at 9-1. And Jordan has been golden here, 11th or better in all four of his trips to Augusta, including 2 runner-ups and a win. Let's see. You've also got Jason Day, Ricky Fowler, Paul Casey's got 6th or better in 3 straight years here. Defending champ Sergio Garcia. You got your boy Fleetwood, who missed a cut here in his first try. You got Hideki Matsuyama, who's played well here the last 3 years, 11th or better. So who are you going to go with?
I don't know if Brady's still listening, but I'd like to thank him for forcing me to make this pick a full round earlier than I wanted to. But I absolutely love Matt Kuchar at 50-1 odds. I mean, I would prefer to get him as my long shot, but he's just been so good at this tournament. He was tied 4th last year, had that late ace, tied for 3rd in 2012, T8 the next year, T5 the following year. He was top 9 in 3 of the 4 majors last year, and even his bad major with a tie for 16th. I think at 39 years old, he really has that kind of distinguished Masters champion look about him. I think he knows that pressure's, he's definitely feeling that pressure. I think it's going to turn out to something good this year. And as much as I like Spieth, I mean, Kuchar at 50-1 odds versus Spieth at 9-1 odds. Those are just too juicy for me.
Yeah, especially at the level you're at now, the third pick level, which is only 25, right? That's the 25 points. That's it. So that's that would be real low. You'd basically be almost getting your money back for Spieth winning, but you could still make out by going with Matt Kuchar at this third level here. And Kuchar's got 3 top 5s in his last 6 appearances. And I will tell you this, the fact that Kuchar dropped into the long shot category, he wouldn't have survived me. And knowing Jeff, how he likes Kuchar, I'm not sure he would have survived Jeff. So
I'm surprised to see him jump up there. I think it's at 40 about yesterday. And for some reason, the odds are jumping up a little bit.
Yeah. So, because I definitely don't think there's a whole lot of really solid long shots to pick this week. Because there's so many great favorites that the guys like Matt Kuchar are good plays for long shots. All right, Jeff. So your official long shot now that Matt Kuchar's off the board, in case you were interested in taking him.
I can guarantee you that Matt Kuchar would not have survived past this pick.
There you go.
And I am now thinking.
See? So we both would have. So you made the right strategy call there, Joel. We would have both taken Matt Kuchar as our top long shot pick at 50-1 because again, they're just once you get to the long shot, there's a drop off. I mean, you take a look. You do have a major champion, Louis Oosthuizen, who lost to Bubba here in a playoff. He's 66-1. You got Masters champ Adam Scott at 60-1. Ian Poulter. What about that story from Ian Poulter last week? How did you think about that pick of mine, Joel? That 100-1 pick, Ian Poulter.
100-1. Wow. I thought it was like 80-1, but either way, it's extremely impressive. I mean, he looked good. That may have been one of the times where the match play thing did carry over to. I mean, I guess he was just really ticked off about how he thought he was going to be in and wasn't. He looked really good. It was a little kind of a shame. I thought Bo Hostler had such a good shot at pulling that off at the end and just barely missed that putt for birdie. Yeah, going for someone like Hostler in his first win in the playoff against an all-time great Ryder Cup player.
Yeah,
he had no shot there. Yeah, Poulter, especially after that first round where he had his bags packed after that and just went crazy in the rest of the tournament. Yeah, it's definitely a great pick.
Yeah, and by the way, keep in mind, Ian Poulter has played pretty well at the Masters. He's got 7 top 25s and 3 top 10s, Jeff.
Yes, absolutely. So here's the question: Do I give you the chance to take Ian Poulter back? Do the rules apply to long shots at all?
Nope. No, it's already gone. You know, I took Rose, so once I did that, that's it. You guys can take them.
then I have to go with a hot hand. I have to go with a guy that not only is playing well and kind of putting his putter where his mouth is, but with his track record at Augusta National, I can't pass on Ian Poulter.
Yeah, he's a very solid long shot in this area where, again, there's just not a lot of, because the Masters, whether it's a major or especially the Masters, it's very hard for a true long shot today. Maybe 10 years ago, a little bit different, 15 years ago, but today, with the amount of competition there is for a long shot to win the Masters, is really going to be asking for it. So therefore, if you're going to go after a long shot this week, you're better off going out with veteran guys like Matt Kuchar, Ian Poulter, guys that are red hot, which I'll be going with, but guys that are either really red hot, playing great, or again, veteran guys that have done really well at this golf course before and that are playing well, like Ian Poulter and Matt Kuchar. So yeah, those are a couple of guys that are definitely would have been in my actually top 3 of long shots. So I'll go with the guy that is also in my top 3, maybe a little bit off the board because he's 150 to 1. But yes, I'm going to go with Kiradech Abhimanyu at 150 to 1. It's a long shot, so I'll go with it. As we talked about it before, he has raised his rankings from 160 to 29 since September with 11 top 10s, 2 runner-ups, and 3 wins. He played here 2 years ago and was a solid 15th, and he's at 100. Nobody's taken him because his odds have dropped to 150 to 1. So I'm going to go ahead and take Abhimanyu, and he's the type of player and story that I could see here this week. Now, will he win? Okay, probably not. But there's still a lot of people generally, the type of people who don't follow golf every week that have no idea who he is. And maybe this is the week everybody finds out about him. So what do you think, Joel, about Kiradech Abhimanyu?
I did a sleepers column on Pro Golf Weekly this week where I got into my top 10 for long shots. I have Abhimanyu at rank number 2 on the list.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he looks really good to me. I've taken him a few times in here, but he's winning everywhere right now. He's playing really well. Doesn't seem to matter the location or the course. And he's only played his Masters once, but he's had some second-time winners recently. But even that year, a T15 is pretty impressive when you consider he shot 77 in the 3rd round. I mean, his putting's been great all season. At the Mexico, he led the field in tee to green, in addition to a few other things. His scrambling's been fantastic lately, too. He'd be a fun winner. I'd be very happy to see someone like that win.
Well, he'd be a fun contender. So that's a player that again, at some point, people are going to know a lot more about Abhimanyu. Okay, Joel. So Kuchar, Poulter, Abhimanyu off the board. Who are you going to go with your official long shot?
This is really tough between 2 guys for me. A couple of weeks ago, I mentioned on here that I thought I loved Adam Scott at the odds they had him at. Because even though the results haven't really been there, he's played well there before. He's actually, statistically, he is playing fantastic aside from just an awful, awful putting. And, I mean, this is a course where he's been able to get away with it so far. But, I mentioned my sleeper list. I had Abhimanyu at number 2 on. I'm going to gamble and take the guy I have number 1 on there. And that's 100 to 1 odds. That's Patrick Cantlay, who, I've taken him a few times in this thing before. He just looks like a Masters champion for me, and that would just be such a good story. He doesn't miss any cuts. He's got 6 top 10s since in that span. The last 21 cuts he's made. I mean, he's a major championship talent. He carries himself like a professional. He's someone I have a hard time seeing. He's not going to go out there and have like a 3rd round 80 or something like that. I don't think you're going to be able to see him at 100 to 1 odds at very many majors in the future. I'm going to jump on that now.
I have no problem with putting a buck this week on Patrick Cantlay at 100 to 1. He hasn't played this event since he was an amateur back in 2012, Jeff. But we know how talented he is, and his next stop as far as notoriety is to get in contention in a major.
Absolutely, and he's he's been kind of at arm's length. When he was an amateur, remember he had that great U.S. Open. I want to say it was 2011, and when he was healthy and all of that. And so he's been in the mix a little bit, not necessarily in Sunday contention, but he's not going to be overwhelmed by the occasion. Augusta may be a little bit different, but boy, you get him to a U.S. Open or a PGA Championship, I think that he's got the talent to be able to do that on the Sooner side, perhaps.
All right, our long shots are in. We'll get our alternate long shots in just a few minutes, but first our alternates, and that is in case Justin Thomas, Bubba Watson, or Dustin Johnson do not make it. And we know Dustin Johnson is a player that didn't make it last year. So what about your first alternate, Jeff? Who are you going to go with here? And by the way, we do have a new rule this week for the rest of the year, which is that because usually we get into these situations where there's 3 or 4 players that are only left on the board, and we don't want to force ourselves to take players just because that's what that doesn't do anything for our listeners. So instead of forcing ourselves, we're going to basically give ourselves an opportunity to take a player that has already been chosen on the board as one of our alternates. So just in case, as an example, if Jeff wanted to, he could take Justin Rose as his alternate, and that would be perfectly legal in our system. So, but Jeff, the players that are left under 50 to 1, Jordan Spieth, you have Jason Day, you have Ricky Fowler, you've got the player you're probably going to take, Paul Casey, you've got Sergio Garcia, you've got Fleetwood, you've got Matsuyama, you've got Noren, you've got Henrik Stenson. So who are you going to go with?
Well, first of all, just going back to Dustin Johnson, yeah, he did have to WD last year. He has a single-story rental house this year, so he's covered his bases.
Smart. So hopefully.
And you know me all too well. Paul Casey almost made the big lineup, and he's still sitting there, and so I have no reason to go back and glom on to somebody else's pick. Definitely Paul Casey in this spot.
Yeah, if you didn't take him, I would have. Paul Casey got the monkey off his back with the win a few weeks ago. We're wondering what that's going to do for his game. He's still in the prime of his career. He's got 3 straight top 6s here. 7 of his last 12 rounds at Augusta have been in the 60s. That's very hard to do. If Paul Casey, as you mentioned, many years is going to win a major, this is likely the one. So Paul Casey at 22 to 1 is a nice little under the radar player to definitely put on your list at 22 to 1. All right, my first alternate is down to 2 players. Just taking a look, double checking my list. Yep, it's down to 2 players with everybody off the board here. So I'll go ahead with I'll take Tommy Fleetwood over Alexander Noren. So Fleetwood is 45 to 1. They're both 45 to 1. So I'll go ahead and take Fleetwood over Noren. Matter of fact, I had that same choice at I think it was, where was it? At PGA National, and both players did contend. So, but I'm going to go ahead and take Tommy again this week over Noren. But I'm going to take both players. I'm going to put money on both players because, as you mentioned before, Joel, Noren is playing really well. In his last 7 events, he has a couple of third-place finishes and a runner-up. And again, both players missed the cut in their first trips here to Augusta last year. And that is part of the reason why I'm sure we haven't touched them yet. But they're both playing very well, and this is a good category to take him at.
Yeah, definitely. He was one of 2 guys I was looking at for the next spot here.
All right. So who are you going to go with then?
I'm gonna be the first to take advantage of that new rule that we go past the 51 odds. I'll take Adam Scott with this pick. He has so many good finishes here. He he had the win one year. He had his thing up right here. Yeah, he was tied 9th last year, runner-up in 2011.
You got the rule wrong, Joel.
Oh, we do have the rule wrong?
Yeah, the rule is that you can take any player that one of us have already taken that are not long shots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But if you like Adam Scott.
Yeah, so you can still get Adam Scott with your next pick as long as Jeff doesn't take him. So he doesn't steal him from you.
I'm allowed to take someone who's been picked already?
Yes, you can.
Um,
See? That's even better.
Yeah. No one has day yet, do they? I still think that.
Just keep in mind, again, you're moving. If that player, remember, this is an alternate, so that player would move into the third category. So you're only getting 25 points on him. So it's not, again, it's like one of those things where, all right, I'll take Justin Thomas. But, again, if you do that, you're only basically getting your money back, which might be okay in a situation where it's your alternate. So.
I don't know. Yeah, alternate. I'm going to stick with someone who hasn't been taken. Hideki at 33-1. We don't know exactly where that risk is, but
okay.
he's gonna win one of these soon. And, when his iron game is going, he's really hard to stop. Hopefully he's healthy.
Yeah, Matsuyama. Now that's the thing. We don't know. I mean, he hasn't played well since he withdrew at Phoenix. He didn't really do much in group play. So that's the thing. We don't know. But we do know he likes this golf course. And so that could be all the difference in the world. 33-1 shot, Hideki Matsuyama. All right, Jeff. So now we get into the long shots. So who is your alternate long shot in case Ian Poulter somehow doesn't make it out there?
The guy that I probably would have taken if I'd left Poulter for you, Louis Oosthuizen. He's been hot and cold, but he is a major champion. He has almost won a green jacket and, had a decent performance at the match play. So he's at 66-1. He's my second alternate.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and take Brian Harman as my second long shot alternate. Harman, like Fleetwood, just played here once, missed the cut. He's 100-1, but Harman is he's playing the best golf of his career over the last year. And who knows? He's another lefty, and maybe we can get a third lefty to win here. I don't know how many have won all time at the Masters, but we do know Mickelson and Watson have won. So they're the only two lefties?
That's correct. Mike Weir.
Oh, four lefties have won at the Masters. So maybe Harman can make it 5. So, hey, this is a lefty golf course, so Harman may not be a bad choice. All right, Joel, who's your second long shot alternate? I guess Adam Scott?
Yeah, I'll go there. I'm really tempted. I do not understand how Siwoo Kim has 300-1 odds. I know he's not really that good, but he's someone that seems to show up at these events and on the big stages. But even still, yeah, I'll go with Adam Scott, 60-1. I'll stick with my board. He's just been too good in this tournament too many times. I feel comfortable with him going in. It's something that happens in Cantlay.
Okay. And then other players that I was thinking about in the long shots, Rafa Cabrera Bello. Let's see, and maybe even Xander Schauffele. Sort of like your approach, Joel, with Cantlay. Looking at a young player that even though he hasn't played here before, is just you just get the feeling that Schauffele is one of those players that the stage wouldn't be too big for him, and he would compete well here. So that's somebody I was also thinking about. Jeff, what about you?
I was looking at Kevin Kisner. He is such a bulldog and such a good putter that if you got into a situation where weather might be an issue on the weekend and it negated the length a little bit, he might have a chance. I was also thinking about Mark Leishman until it came out that he's paired with Tiger Woods for the first 2 days. That circus he didn't need.
All right. And Joel, you?
Jimmy Walker's showing signs of life lately. I like seeing that because he's getting back into it. There's some good, really long shots, too. Bernhard Longer at 400-1. He was T8 just 3 or 4 years ago at this course. And going on the complete opposite end of that spectrum, you have Joaquin Niemann at 500-1 odds. Those guys are, they're worth $1. I don't think I would have taken them in.
Can't hear you, Joel.
But yeah, going on the complete opposite end of the spectrum from Bernhard Longer, Joaquin Niemann at 500-1 odds wouldn't be horrible either. Yeah, I was considering Jimmy Walker quite a bit. Tyrrell Hatton, I always like a lot in majors. Those are the ones I'm considering most closely.
Who would you take, Jeff, between Vijay Singh, Bernard Langer, Fred Couples, and Angel Cabrera?
It comes down to Couples and Longer. And I just think in the long run, Longer is so consistent. And he's run a little hot and cold of late, but the way he has played, I don't see him slowing down yet. With Freddie, if I knew his back was going to be healthy, he might get the nod, but I don't know that. He's not played much on the Champions this year.
All right, and that is going to wrap it up. So it should be a lot of fun. Now, we are going to be on the air on Saturday and Sunday, and that should be and that's going to be right at about 10 o'clock Eastern time. So we'll wrap up the first 2 rounds, the cut, and preview round 3 on Saturday, and then preview round 4 on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. Maybe next week we'll get an opportunity to talk about the tremendous playoff win at the ANA. That was a really great match, so maybe we'll get an opportunity to talk about that on one of our upcoming shows. Just not enough time here on our Masters preview, so still, of course, a lot of things going on. I'm assuming you've got that on your Around the Tours report, Jeff?
Yeah, it is right near the top of the Around the Tours report. It's really the number 2 story for the week when behind all this build up to the Masters.
Yes, we'll talk more about that in the coming, sometime in the next week. All right, as usual, I want to thank Brady Cannon for joining us from Covers, and don't forget to go to experts.covers.com, and for a limited time only, you get 50% off any purchase by using the promo code PRIME50. That's PRIME50. We'll see you on Saturday for our next Masters edition of Prime Sports Golf right here on the Prime Sports Radio Network, brought to you by Covers.com and ProGolfWeekly.com. For Jeff Shane, Brady Cannon, Joel Cook, and Greg DePalma, we'll see you next time.